Hey guys, welcome to the Preview Alliance podcast. This is Sarah, and today we're starting our My Motherhood series. I'm so excited about our first guest. You guys know her as Big Haired Hannah on Instagram, Birmingham. You girls know where to go. You go to her salon. I'll link it for those who want to travel. But you'll know her as a wife, a mom, a hairstylist, a hair therapist. Hannah Griffin, welcome.
Hey, it's so exciting to be here. Thank you for having me.
Hey, I am so excited that you're the first person rocking off this series because you've got all this valuable information I think you got to just share.
Oh, yeah. I hear the nitty gritty from all my clients.
She literally has heard me in my most depths of postpartum trenches moments. She glammed me for basically every photo shoot for Will and James, so she'll spill some tea on us.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you.
So I have been a hairstylist for about 7 years, a wife for about 3.5, and then a mom for about 2.5. My son, Nolan, is 2.5.
The cutest.
Thanks.
And let's disclaimer that when your husband is gone on his work events,
Yes.
you're basically
a single mom. Yes. My husband is amazing. He does so much for our family, but he is in sporting events, which, you know, when they're busy, they're extremely busy.
Right.
They actually put on the World Games this past summer, so I felt for about 2 or 3 months it was, you know, I was a single mom. Thankfully, my mom does live close, and she is a huge, huge help, but you know what it's like to have a busy husband.
Yes, I do. And then when you're a hairstylist, you have to go these crazy hours, and you're on your feet,
on my feet,
and then you got a mommy at the end of the day, and the beginning of the day.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It is definitely a wild ride. I do a lot of wedding events too, which sometimes puts me there at 5 a.m. So,
right, and weekends.
Yeah, weekends, Saturdays, afternoons, you know.
And you just make it work.
Yes, we just make it work.
So I love your postpartum stories and adventures. Just give the viewers just a glimpse into what that was like when Nolan was born for you.
So it was so weird. You know, my highest of highs were there and my lowest of lows were there. I will never forget the second night that we had Nolan. So he was born on a Thursday. So Friday night, I literally locked myself in the bathroom of the hospital.
Yeah.
My husband didn't know what to do. He had to go get a nurse to help. It was a wild ride. And looking back, the reason I think I did that was Nolan had been crying for hours. You know, he was just over 24 hours old. And nothing I was doing was working. Nothing was making him happy. We were trying to breastfeed and latch and, you know, all of the fun stuff. And the second my husband picked him up, he stopped crying. And it was kind of just a slap in the face that I have been all you have needed for the past 9 to 10 months when you're in my body. And now all of a sudden someone else can soothe you, which looking back is such a blessing. But in the moment, you know.
It cuts you deep.
It cuts you.
And then you had a C-section.
I had a C-section. Thankfully, it was scheduled. So I didn't labor. So I felt like I went into it as well rested as I could have. I had a blowout. I had my makeup done.
And hey, the goal was for you to do that for me for both pregnancies, but things went astray on mine.
Your boys have their own
plans. Have their own plans. They don't want mom to look great for delivery. You kidding? So that was the goal. So, hey, moms, if you want to do that, do that. Feel good about yourself.
Yes. I had a client who stopped by the salon during COVID. So we have a picture of both of us super pregnant.
I've seen that on your Instagram. Yes.
We're out there. I'm in the parking lot braiding her hair.
Yeah.
On her way to the hospital. So I always tell people, I'm like, this could be your last moment for a while.
Of you.
To feel good.
Yeah.
To feel presentable. So we need to take advantage.
No, I love that. Yeah. Now, so Nolan was like COVID time.
Yes.
What did you guys do about the visitor situation?
So luckily the hospital made the decision for us. No visitors in the hospital. And at the time I remember being so upset about that because, you know, we're in the South. We have this vision of everybody coming, all the newborn pictures, you know.
The matching outfits.
Everything. Yes. A newborn photographer, which I already did have a newborn photographer lined up. And obviously she wasn't able to be there. But my mom came over the night we brought him home from the hospital. And then my in-laws came a couple weeks later. And then we didn't let other people meet him for the first 8 weeks after he had that first round of vaccines. Like even my own father didn't come until he was like 9 weeks old, just to be safe. And, you know, looking back, COVID or not, that might be, that's probably a good decision just with so
Yeah.
many germs and
it's like you guys get that moment.
Exactly. And I called it our newborn bubble. Like I said, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. Like when I was on a high, nothing could bring me down in that newborn bubble. Like I loved it. And then 2 minutes later, the hormones just go wild and I'm locking myself in the bathroom at the hospital.
I mean, second night with James.
Yes. Yes.
Me, Bill, nurse, we had broken down.
Yes.
I mean, crying hysterically, all three of us. Bill was like, I don't think we could, we're not.
What are we doing?
We're not making it out.
No.
We're supposed to be second timers at this.
Yes.
And, thank God for nurses, especially these veteran nurses.
The nurses.
Swooped in. She's seen it before.
Yes.
And she came in, she gave him sugar water. I think he had it, he was circumcised that day.
Oh, Nolan was too, I think.
It usually is like the second. And so Will was, in the NICU.
Yes.
And so when he was circumcised, I was not allowed to be there. And then when I came after, and then I didn't sleep at the hospital because I'd already been discharged. So I had never experienced that. And no one had told me.
Yeah.
I had friends who have boys, but we didn't say, hey, was the second night the worst night? And you were all crying.
Yes.
No one said that to me. And the sugar water, I think, soothed him enough because he was snubbing. I was trying to feed, C-section.
Yes.
Crying.
Everyone.
Yeah. Probably our next door neighbors were like, are they okay?
Yeah, something's going on next door.
No, we're not okay.
We're not.
I think the food service tray guy came in and he just turned back around. Yeah. He's just like, this is an unsafe area. But I think that's something that people don't talk about. I certainly didn't blast that on my Instagram. Hey, we're leaving the hospital. Last night, we all had mental breakdowns.
Yeah.
And that's something that moms, if you don't know someone, that it's your safe place or you have this mom tribe where you can be honest, you think it's just you.
Yes, exactly.
And that's super isolating.
It really is. And it will get you in a dark place fast. So, that's why every time I have a client that is about to give birth, I say, it's great. It's very, very hard. It can be mentally and physically exhausting. If you need anything, please text me, call me. I don't care if it's the middle of the night. If you're just having a moment and need to talk, I am here. And I think sometimes I get so aggressive with it that I think it scares people that haven't had the kid yet. But I feel like they... hindsight's
remember
20.
you.
Yes, exactly. They will remember me saying that.
Yeah. Do you remember what I told you when I was with Will?
Yes. So it's so funny you bring that up. I will never forget. You said that you were in the trenches.
Yeah.
At was it your newborn appointment?
Newborn.
Okay. So newborn photos, you said you were in the trenches. I did not understand. I was just like, oh, wow. Again, that was Will's what, 3 or 4?
He just turned 4.
He's 4. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was 2 years before I had my son.
Yeah.
And then I had a friend text me about a week after Nolan was born and say, how are you doing? And I said, we are in the trenches. Yeah. And it made sense what you said.
You were the only person in those moments that I felt I could just be honest with. Because I was away from family and friends.
Yes.
And you felt my cup. You made me feel beautiful. You were my safe place. And I know you're so many clients. That's who you are.
Thank you.
So, but what's so good about you is that you share your honest and real motherhood.
Yeah.
Is there some things that happened postpartum period that also you just kind of want to share?
I
mean, it could be,
Edit. I'm trying to think.
It could be something about relationship with you and Parker. It could be your friendship changes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I feel like every relationship I had changed. Like I've said, you hear how much you're going to love your baby, but it doesn't compare to the moment you see, and everything changes. The moment I saw Nolan, I didn't care who I offended or stepped on toes or, whatever. I have always been a people pleaser, and it's the second I became a mother, all that went out the window, and I just had to do what was best for me and my son and my husband. Every relationship changed, with that being said. Unfortunately, your relationship with your husband is going to change, which is why I think date nights and getaways are so important.
I love seeing when you guys do that on Instagram and bringing it to moms, you're not a bad mom. You're going to, still date your husband, your partner, right? Just because the reality is our kids are going to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And, our partners, our husbands, our spouses are going to be there.
Yep.
You don't want to lose.
Mm-mm.
It was you guys first.
Yep, exactly. And I always tell people dating my husband is the best thing for my son.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my parents were great parents, but their marriage didn't last. And I don't want that for my son. And I think it starts with me and my husband remembering to put each other first, because in the long term, that is what's best for my son. Excuse me.
And then Nolan
Mm-hmm.
needs to see that
Yes.
of how he's going to respect and honor
Mm-hmm.
and cherish his
Mm-hmm.
girlfriends, your future daughter-in-law.
Yes.
Which is a whole subject.
I know. Every night in his prayers, I'm like, Lord, please let Nolan marry someone that mommy likes.
And as we both have talked about before, being boy moms, we're trying not to be that like overbearing mother-in-law to whoever they choose one day. But, you got it kills. You also just
me.
like, you see some things, you're just like, I would murder you and them if this happens. But it's part of like, you don't think that way before you're, I mean, when they're in your belly start, but like once you have this little guy,
everything changes.
Everything changes. What about friendships?
So my friendships, a lot of that changed. Things are great now, better than they've ever been. But again, I was such a people pleaser before I had him, and then that kind of changed.
Yeah.
So we didn't let people, before we had him, I thought, oh yeah, we'll play it by ear on who gets to come, whatever. And then when I had him, I was like, nope, y'all can come in 8 weeks. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people didn't understand, but a lot of people did, which was super empowering to know. I don't care if you understand or not.
Yeah.
This is the decision we've made for our child. And I will never forget, I have a friend who has a 7-year-old. So he was about 5 when Nolan was born. And when he was born, I went to see him the night that he was born in the hospital.
Yeah.
And I remember texting my friend and saying, I am so sorry that I thought it was my right to come see your child in the hospital. I don't even know if she invited me. I think I just said, I'm coming.
Yeah.
Tell me what we're, like I said, looking back, never again.
No.
And I also remember I was, talking to a client in the period between COVID shutdown and having Nolan. So a couple weeks before he was born. And I kind of was saying, oh, I'm sad. No one's going to be able to see us in the hospital. And she is a mother of 2. And she said she looked back at her pictures from her first child and saw 42 people, counted 42 people in the photos that came to visit her in the hospital.
Now, those 42 people should have been bringing her meals when she's home and cleaning her house, doing her laundry.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that's something that I did the same thing. And it's just something that I think now we're getting more comfortable setting those boundaries of saying, I'm going to do what's best for my child and myself and my spouse. And this is what we need to do to protect our mental health. And this is our time.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's no one else's. And people are going to give you pushback.
Yep.
It's always hard, we say, when you set that first boundary, but you hold it.
And then it gets easier.
It gets easier.
Yes.
And same thing with our toddlers. Now no one's like toddler.
Oh, God.
They don't like it.
Yep.
Does that change the fact that it's still going to be what it is? No. So you move on with it.
Exactly.
What else do you think, like you hear it all the time, these moms are in your chair.
Yep.
They're being vulnerable with you. What's some common themes you hear?
I think the biggest thing is the getaway. Most of my clients come every 6 to 8 weeks. So that last appointment before they have the baby, I always say, do you want to go ahead and schedule, or do you want to wait and see what the baby's schedule's like and everything? And a lot of people go ahead and book because they say that way I'll at least be able to get out of the house.
Yeah.
Like 6 weeks, no matter what happens, I know 6 weeks from now I have a hair appointment and I'm getting out of this house with or without the baby.
Yeah. Yeah. To do something for them.
Exactly. And I feel like that, Nolan's 2 and I still feel that way. You know, if I have an afternoon, I'm like, well, I could go shopping and run some errands for myself, or I could go home and clean the house and catch up on laundry.
Yeah.
It's always going to be a balance.
Yeah, it is. And do you think new moms, do you think they're more like open and about what they're going through? Or do you think it's more like the second and third times moms, so they're just like, my boobs are leaking, I'm bleeding, he's not sleeping?
I think that in my experience, they're pretty open with me.
Okay, good.
But I think it's because I do set that I guess, boundary, whatever you would want to call it, about, I've been there. If you need me, call me. It's amazing, but it's terrible at the same time. And I really encourage everybody, I got on medicines postpartum. It's called, I call it Sexy Lexi.
There you go.
It's Lexapro, but me and my friends all refer to it as Sexy Lexi. She comes on all our girls' trips. She's with me all the time.
Yeah.
I always recommend to people or encourage people, if you feel any type of way, call somebody.
Get help. You do not have to be, I think as moms, especially in the South, it's hard because we're expected to be, oh, you're blessed, smile, it's great. Yes. And people gaslight you all the time and say, well, at least you have a baby.
Exactly.
You should be fortunate this, or so-and-so had it worse.
And that is it. Especially with me, I had a scheduled C-section. And that was more so for my mental health because so much was unknown with COVID.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be in control of one thing.
Yeah.
And it was how my baby got here. And that was my choice. But so many people gave me such a hard time for that. Before he was born, I remember I told a friend and she was like, you can't do that. You need to at least try. And now our kids Nolan's 2.5 and you wouldn't know him from a vaginal birth.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, why do we shame moms for how their baby is brought into this world?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, formula, breast, C-section, traditional vaginal. You're not going to line them up like you said in kindergarten and say, oops.
You were a C-section baby. Go to the back of the line.
And I experienced that too. Just some people being like, oh, were you upset that you're having a C-section? I remember someone said that to me. And I'm just like, A, I don't have a choice. And B, no.
And in my mind, I mean, Nolan had a big head. His head was in the 99th percentile. So I knew I was going to have stitches one way or another.
If it's going to be up or down.
Oh, I would rather be able to sit on the toilet.
Yeah. I mean, but it's just the amount of comments that people feel that they can say about your delivery or how you feed your child.
Yep.
Or if your child's in daycare. Or if you're
the daycare thing. And I will never forget, I actually fired this client after she made this comment. I don't think she knows this was the reason, but I was probably like 12 weeks pregnant, like we had just announced. And I love being a working mom. You know, it is very hard, but working makes me who I am, I feel like.
Yeah.
And it makes me a better mom to have that time to get away from Nolan. And I think it makes Nolan a better kid to be in daycare with,
other kids. Yeah.
And this mom said, she has like 2, I guess they're teenagers, but she made a comment about, well, why would I have someone else raise my kid?
Oh.
And I wanted to be like, well, honey, who's going to do your hair if I don't?
Yeah, yeah.
And second of all, that's not
never okay.
I know who your kids are, and they're not the greatest kids.
Yeah.
So.
My thing is, in the comments, and I've got it both ways. Honestly, because when I stayed at home with Will, I got comments about that. You're giving up your career. You're losing yourself. Did you go to school for this? I mean, I got it both ways.
Yeah.
Starting Previa, working, Will's in preschool. I have babysitters that help me with James. And I'm trying to get him in somewhere, which, hello, if anybody knows how that struggle goes, that might be when he's 10. I don't know. That might be called elementary school. Because these wait lists, because the reality is, a lot of moms, we have to work. We want to work. And I'm a big believer, and I've seen it with Will, and I've honestly seen it with James, of just like our awesome babysitters. They add to him and fill them up and give them a different joy and teach them things. I can try to teach my children something for days.
It's not going to stick.
These teachers are blessed, and they are able to do that. But that does not make me a bad mom.
Exactly. It makes you a good mom because you recognize that. You're not trying to be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
As moms, working or not, we have a lot of balls in the air. Yeah. And it's only a matter of time before we drop one. Excuse me. So I think it makes you a good mom to recognize that. And I'll never forget, I went back to work at about 6 to 7 weeks. Luckily, since I work for myself, I was able to really ease back into it. And Nolan didn't go to daycare till he was 9 weeks old. Yeah. Because we had my mom and my mother-in-law come help. But I have never felt more like myself than leaving my baby. The first day was hard. The first few days were very hard. But coming home from working and being fulfilled in that role to coming home and being fulfilled as a mother, I mean, it was such a good day. Yeah. To know that, okay, we survived it. I got my time away. You got to bond with your grandmother. Yeah. Yeah. It was good.
And I think that most moms feel this tug of, am I going to be able to do both?
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay for me to do both? Because society loves to shame moms.
Loves to shame moms.
And
Yep.
other moms shame moms.
They do. And I think that comes from a place of jealousy.
Yeah.
Because the shame I've got about, like I said, that I mentioned that lady that stayed home with her kids, I kind of felt like it was from a jealous standpoint because I, thrive in my career. I really enjoy it 90% of the time, 95% of the time. And, I'm not the perfect mom or wife or mother or hairstylist, but, I think that the balance makes me pretty good.
Yeah. No, I think you're killing it.
Thank you. Not to toot my own horn, but
no, I think you are.
I just feel fulfilled being able to do a little bit of everything and knowing, like I said, I can't be Nolan's everything. As much as I want to be, I can't. He has to go to daycare. He has to learn from people. And that's another thing. Have you been keeping up with the Facebook groups, the mom Facebook groups?
So you know what I've done is I've removed myself from those.
Okay.
So I know we talk about triggers a lot.
Yeah.
I'm highly triggered by situations like that.
Yes.
And I think especially too, and I've took a lot of social media breaks too.
Yeah.
But the Facebook groups I find get just really nasty really quick.
They do. So our daycare, I'm not going to say the name, but we have had a lot of drama that has ended up on the Facebook groups.
Okay.
And I had a lot of my friends that don't go there. They would text me every time something would come up and kind of make me feel guilt for continuing to send my son there. Because we have, I think, 6 or 7 locations around Alabama. And there's been a lot of drama, a lot of staffing issues. They had to start closing early. And they originally closed at 6. They, before the summer, had to start closing at 4.
Yeah.
Which was very difficult for us, but we figured it out, thankfully. But so many people gave me shame for continuing to send my son there.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, it was a girl that doesn't even have children. She's just a nanny. And she had babysat for us some. And I'm like, why are you even in the Facebook groups? And why do you care where I send my kid to school? He is a very smart kid. He loves going to school there. Yeah, the hour change is hard for us, but we're going to make it work.
Yeah.
And don't throw shade.
Yeah.
When you don't even have a child.
Yeah. You don't have a dog in this race.
Right.
And you were a nanny.
Yes, I was. So before I was a hairstylist, I was a live-in nanny for about 4 years to 3 children. The oldest one is 16 now.
Wow.
The middle one is 15, and the youngest just turned 12.
So they could babysit your kids.
Yes, and we always talk about that. It's come full circle. So.
Yeah. So you've seen it. Did that help you prepare for motherhood?
Oh, I mean, it did. It more so helped me prepare for the terrible twos.
Okay.
And the toddler stage.
Yeah.
Because I was 18 when I started working for them, and the youngest had just been born.
Okay.
Like she was 4 months old when I moved in.
Okay.
So the mom helped. The mom was with her most of the time, and I was with the older kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, it helped me, I guess, see that I could work and have a family at the same time, because that mom was killing it at work. She is still killing it at work.
Yeah.
And she has 3 beautiful, amazing children. So it kind of was more inspiring to see that than not.
No, I love that. And I always think it's good. And I always encourage, like, I think if it's babysitters for your date nights, is the younger generation to see the side of motherhood. And because I just think women are, like, we need older, been there kind of moms to, like, pour into us and give us helpful advice. Don't shame us, but I've walked this road. Let me tell you what worked for me. It may not work for you, but, like, I've been there.
Yep.
And then the younger generations need to see it to see what's to come.
Exactly. Yeah. And before I was a nanny, I wanted to be a young mom. We grew up in the South.
Yeah.
I wanted to get married at 21, have a baby at 22.
Yeah.
Looking back, what in the world was I thinking? But that prepared me to know that was not in the cards for me.
Yeah. Take a break.
None of it was.
Yeah. Take a pause. I always say that to my babysitters. I'm like, I hope you get your baby fixed here.
Yeah.
And I want you to work on you, because there is a loss of identity in motherhood for a bit.
There is. Yeah.
You get it back. As you said, you're thriving.
Yep.
We always like to say, leave our listeners with some words of just like an encouragement or advice, or like just something that about motherhood, one thing you can do too, because I love this that you say about how you're Nolan's only protector when it comes to stuff. Like how you stand in front of things.
Yeah.
Just speak to that about how you make it so you protect Nolan first.
Yeah. I mean, everything I do is for him, even when I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah.
for me to be mentally better and physically better. It is so he can have a better mom.
Yeah.
And I love that, because it helps me and it helps him. It's killing two birds with one stone.
I love that.
Yeah.
You're a great mom.
Thank you. I mean, I'm not, some days are better than others, as you know.
As everybody.
As you know.
As everybody. I mean, if you would have been in my house at 6:30 this morning, you'd be like, what is happening?
What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
But
we pull it together. But your honesty, your support to your clients, it's serving moms.
Thank you.
We're gonna bring you back, and I think because I think we're gonna have you do something on your social and get some questions.
Yes,
we'll come back and talk about it.
Ooh, I'll get juicy stuff.
All right, till next time.
All right,
thanks,
bye.
guys. Maternal mental health is as important as physical health. The Preview Alliance podcast was created for and by moms dealing with postpartum depression and all its variables, like anxiety, anger, and even apathy. Hosted by CEO, founder Sarah Parkhurst and licensed clinical social worker Whitney Gay, each episode focuses on specific issues relevant to pregnancy and postpartum. Join us and hear how other moms have overcome mental health challenges, as well as access tips and suggestions on dealing with your own challenges as moms. You can also browse our podcast library and listen to previous episodes at any time. Please know you're not alone on this journey. We're here to help.